You are listening to the Backline podcast.
All right. This is the Backline podcast. It's been about a month since we've had an episode, but guess what? That's because our drummer has been traveling.
Yeah.
So, in that time, we had a lot of shit going on, but let's start out with Tristan.
Yeah.
Why the fuck were you gone?
I just went places.
Where?
Well, I mean, what do you want to know? I started by going to Chicago, which was interesting.
Lame.
I've been through Chicago a few times, but usually I just go to the park to fly because it's like half the price to fly to Chicago than it is to fly to Madison.
Madison sucks.
Madison is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But so I did that, parked there. Actually, in relation to this, the Uber driver that I parked at a spot, right? Like I parked at an open lot. It's usually for like a train station. Spot Hero saves your ass with that. It's like half the price versus parking at the airport. So I get in the Uber and I'm riding to the airport. And I get talking to this guy because that's what I do. I just talk to people. He was driving a van, which was a town and country. And I was like, how do you like this vehicle? And he's like, well, it's not great on gas, but it's useful for what I do for my hobbies. And I was just like, oh, what do you do? And he's a musician. And I was like,
Of course.
You're a drummer, aren't you? And I'm like, nope, I'm not, but I do drum. Long story short, we ended up talking about how he works at a music shop and he fills in as a musician for a couple of different bands and whatnot. He was a nice guy. But yeah, no, I flew down to Virginia and stayed with a friend there for a bit. Visited Washington, D.C. and saw the fireworks there. Spent a lot of money at the restaurants there because they're all expensive because it's D.C.
You gotta. And you went on a holiday.
Went on a holiday. That was cool.
America birthday.
Basically, the fireworks are really cool because there were like, I swear to God, there were 100,000 people there. It was crazy busy. We snuck alcohol in and had some beers. Not like crazy. It was just a couple of beers that we happened to be walking around with. So we were just like,
You gotta.
well, they were
America.
They were checking bags and whatnot.
No, America.
Okay, America.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was hellacious getting out of there because it's all metro there. You don't really want to drive in DC. So everybody had to file to a bunch of different metro stations. And we ended up, like, the fireworks ended at like 8, 9 o'clock, and we were out until midnight trying to get back home just because we like...
The traffic or what?
Yeah, you couldn't, you couldn't get on a train. Like, everybody was... it was really, like, I can't...
Were you guys actively trying to get home, or were you like,
Yes.
maybe we'll get home?
Well, a couple of things, right? So we were in the middle...
And then you stopped at 5 bars on the way.
No,
you're like,
no,
maybe we'll get home.
Like, we were actively trying to get home in that span of time. So there's probably details in here I don't need to include, but when we were going to leave, we were initially going to go towards the Smithsonian, which is one of the stops, right? And they closed that down as an exit, which means that you can only get on a train there. It's not going to stop and let you get off, which is, it was that busy.
You're locked in,
Basically. But we were going to walk towards the Smithsonian, and it was me, Brock, and Miles. They're a couple of friends of mine. And we were walking, and there's just this random fucking guy sitting there, and he's just like, no, you should go to Foggy Bottom or this other spot. Like, we were just like trying to figure out where to go, and this guy's just like, no, go this way. And like, he's just like, go that way, go to Foggy Bottom, and then there was another stop that we ended up going to. But yeah, this is Virginia for you, or DC, but
That
some interesting
sounds
names.
sketch.
I know. But
Go this way.
well, he was really nice. He's like, yeah, I've done this a couple of times, and this is always a death battle over there trying to get into the metro. And we were like, okay. So we end up walking this other direction. It was cool because they had a bunch of streets. I mean, visiting DC was cool because they had like an event going on nonetheless. It was like a folk music festival, and they had a bunch of stuff going on. They had blocked the roads, and that was really cool. But no, getting home.
Folk music.
Well, it was like some folk festival.
Folk, but it's not metal.
No, it wasn't metal.
All right.
I didn't get to see any metal musicians.
I'm
while I
just
was
kidding.
there.
I like all sorts.
No. Yeah. It was good, but
Not one of them elitist fucks.
no.
Anyways, so you were down in Virginia hanging out.
Yeah, I don't
For
know
what?
I don't know how much further you want me to go into this. I just to visit some friends because I should have visited later because the guy that I visited, or I stayed at his house, Brock, he's actually moving very soon, and we were like, I was gonna help move out of his apartment, but he had some other stuff going on the week after, and then he had like one of his high school classmates visit while I was there as well. So it was just like a powwow kind of. We just kind of hung
good
out.
Shit.
It was
jealous.
Good. It was good. No problems.
So with that being said, while you were off vacationing, what did we do before that?
So we were in the studio like 2 days before I had to leave, maybe a day. So I had to pack up for leaving and then also get ready for the studio at the exact same time, which is pretty interesting to work around. But yeah, no, we were in the studio.
So this podcast is to talk about Tristan's travels because he's an avid traveler, but also to talk about what we've dealt with in our studio experiences. You know, we've been in the studio, 4 or 5 times.
Well, you live at a studio.
Yeah, in my basement.
You got one in your basement.
Yeah, so we've done 2 releases in my basement, which is quote unquote my 134 headquarters studio, but majority of the time we go to Blast House.
Yep.
And we did Sinner at Blast House, we did Micromanager, we did The Hour Chapter 1, we did Growl, Dissociate, and this new song that's coming out July 21st, and hopefully this podcast is out by then, but July 21st, 2023, our newest single, Red Eye, is coming out. That was recorded at Blast House as well. But the basis of this podcast is to talk about how we've done it I think a different way every time we've gone into the studio.
Yeah, it has not been consistent.
It has not been.
I mean, this last one was kind of similar to
Micromanager.
Yeah, except for wasn't Micromanager live tracked? Yeah,
this was way more refined.
Yeah. I would say this process that we did at Blast House this time around was more typical. And we did similar stuff here in the studio for recording the other 2 releases. But every time we've gone to these studios, it's definitely been like a different process every
But
time.
the nice thing about that is it exposes you to multiple ways, so we can take that back.
Yeah, and use it here. Yeah,
Yep.
No, for sure.
Yep. So to start out, what we want to talk about on this podcast is our experience from going to the studio, what's worked for us, what has not worked for us. This is by no means a guideline. It's just literally what has worked for us, and you take it with a grain of salt.
We're a 2-piece, so we're kind of unique in that regard.
You know, you take it with a grain of salt, what's going to work for you, but this is what's worked for us, and this is how we'll eventually get to how we've saved a little bit of money by going in the studio. So let's kick it off. The demo with Thou Who Shall Not Be Named.
So we're going that
was a pretty cheap run. That was live track the whole time.
We did it we planned it being kind of a demo or like a cheaply recorded. We wanted to get something recorded.
No click.
No,
It was literally going your separate booths and let's play. And if it's crappy, let's do it again.
Yep.
There was really no punching in or out. It was live.
No, I think we had a couple of spots that I need to punch in or out because I was drumming weird, but...
Wow, did you ever heard Dirt Bike's intro?
Right.
Not talking about guitar.
Yeah, that was the one then, huh? That was that whole session? Yeah, no, that was interesting. That was different. I would say pretty typical for like early studio experience.
That was our first time in the studio.
But yeah, no, it was basically, all right, everybody get your instruments warmed up. And we're just going to do it in one take.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, that's what we were used to. We hadn't practiced to a click before.
But we still spent 8 hours in 3 songs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, too. It's like 3 songs done in 8 hours is pretty good. Like, that's.
It was.
That's
songs weren't good, but I mean, it was
efficient.
It was a good time frame.
Yeah. And it was good to have that experience then, too. Like, that makes a huge difference. Like, if you're young in a band, practicing and recording your stuff is a lot different than going to the studio and recording. Like, it's totally different.
It's like game day or race day. You know, something we're used to.
You can practice all you want.
Exactly. You can practice all you want, but you're never going to be prepared for the race.
Especially vocals. I will say the hardest. Like
that was tough.
I don't have too difficult of a time playing drums. A lot of the hard part for drums and recording and being prepared for the studio is being able to play to a click, but being able to play dynamically to a click is the hardest part because like a lot of the live stuff and whatnot is dynamic, so it's hard to capture that.
I want to get to that
Sure.
because
Yeah, we can come back to that one.
let's go to Sinner.
Yep.
I felt like a lot of the feel was taken out of that because we were so anal, but also it was so
We were really
technical.
particular
It
about-
was literally that. So take a step back.
Sure.
Sinner. So the demo was we're gonna pay for 8 hours and do 3 songs, and whatever happens, happens.
Crank it out, make it
Sinner
work.
was the absolute opposite.
Yeah.
We paid over. Then this is nothing. We love our studio
Yeah.
engineer. Absolutely love him. We love
Yeah,
the
no
studio
hate.
we
Like,
go
it's
to.
not like that.
This is not a
This is
bash.
from our
This is a
side.
learning experience from our point of
Yeah.
view. So what we did with Sinner was we went in with some unrealistic ideas and time frames. We literally did a rough drum track. The engineer edited it. I took it back home, practiced,
Yeah.
quote unquote, to it. Went into the studio, did the guitar tracks. I am absolutely terrible at playing guitar to a click, so that didn't work well. I mean, we spent a lot of time and money on that Sinner album.
That was a really big learning album because
It was a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that was like the true like studio experience where it's piece by piece, and we didn't have enough of an idea of what those songs needed to be before going into the studio. We didn't know the BPM.
Yeah, if I could give, just based off that, if I could give any band or any musician listening
Like advice.
it would be open to studio ideas, but also
Yeah.
have your format down and what you want that not necessarily every single part of the song to sound like, but the atmosphere. What are you trying to get across? Because we had Sinner programmed to a T. Like we had it, we want this.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work out, and then we're like, what do we do?
What do we do? Yeah.
And then it ended up being if you listen, there are guitar tracks in there that are programmed.
Yeah, and
So-
a lot of the drums were too because I wasn't clicked, or I wasn't good with the click. But like, I feel like that's part of the learning experience too, right? Like, I just had a thought and it left this.
But I
fucking
mean,
station.
to step back and not get too technical,
Yeah.
that was a mistake on our part by going, for our first release,
yeah,
we're going to do a 9 or 10 song
album.
I
Yeah.
don't know how many songs Sinner. I think it's 9.
No, right.
We're gonna do a 9-song album, and we're gonna send it. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you think our latest releases have been
Like
EPs,
singles and EPs.
doubles, singles?
Yeah,
That's why.
I definitely think that we didn't spend enough time recording, like, even the smallest thing, right? Like, set a mic in the center of the room and record it, and then listen to it and see, do we like the way this flows?
Oh, you're talking like demoing our
I'm
own
talking.
shit.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm talking before, like in the pre-production of Sinner. We
did not do that.
which I
Right.
mean was fine. Like, I feel like we didn't know about that until we were in the studio.
We were
and
pretty
learned
young.
the process.
I mean, we were
yeah.
15, 16 at the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, we learned that process. We didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything really. I mean, the little that we knew was just like fucking around with GarageBand on the iMac. But like that wasn't enough, obviously. We definitely spent a lot of time and money making that album, but I mean, it turned out the way it should have.
Some people tell me Sinner is still their favorite album,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
It's a
what
well-balanced
fucking
album.
world are you living in? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's my least favorite.
No, yeah, it's weird as a
I
musician.
think Dad even said that last weekend when I was canoeing with him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's a. I mean, I'll listen to those songs and I'm just like, yeah, those are good. I just feel kind of separated from the actual.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've come a long way since then, and I feel like that's important. It's a photograph of where we were at the time. But even so, like those drum tracks, I would totally lay down just a little bit differently at this point. They'd have a little more natural.
Yeah, but
feel.
that's the nice thing about music is you can see, like you said, how you evolve, but also
It's not even
music
your
is
taste changes.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking you're gonna be like okay.
Music ain't a math equation.
Like
Yeah.
look at a band that we like Korn. They have not been the same
Between
any one of their albums.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And they say that's what keeps them fresh.
Yeah.
And then there's some bands that I fucking hate. Sorry to anybody out there. Motley Crue. band like that sounds the same all the way. It's like, I don't want to. Okay, another controversial one, AC/DC. I've learned to appreciate what they are.
Right.
But they're the fucking same thing from whenever they started to now.
Yeah. I mean, you have
anyway, we'll jump off that topic before we insult people.
Well, to touch it quick, I wanna add my 2 cents.
You want to touch it?
I do. Is that those bands have their roles, right? Like Korn was new metal to the T. It was like they're trying. They're absolutely trying to evolve constantly. They were trying to change things and do new shit all the time. They had like fucking like 12 band members. I don't fucking know. But the point is they were like constantly trying to do that. Whereas bands with like Motley Crue or AC/DC, like it's a 4-piece. They kind of know what they're doing. They kind of know what they want to write about. They know where they fit. Yeah. Well, right. I mean, that's just what they want to do. There's no limit to music. Like you don't like it because it's not your style. It's not something you like.
Absolutely fair.
But it's subjective.
I feel like you look at our albums.
Right. We've changed. Like, well, that's the thing is too, we started so young, like you fucking 15 through 20 is just it's a huge change in life. And
look at our lyrical content.
Well, right.
From Sinner to now, it's like, 218 I was singing about
dirt bike.
Oh, that one too. But 218 I was singing about a wet dream.
Oh my god.
Seriously. And then you come to now and it's more real shit.
Funny choice of words.
No, that's legit.
No,
dude.
I know.
But the thing is, everything we write, we relate to.
Well, yeah. Well, you're not gonna write music you don't relate to.
Nah, some bands fucking.
Well, I know, but
I can't stand that because how do you?
Well,
anyways, we're getting off topic.
Yeah,
that's another
episode.
podcast.
Yeah.
So fast forward.
Studio time.
What was Sinner to Micromanager?
Yep. I mean, yeah. So Sinner.
So Micromanager was, like you said right away, that was practically live tracked.
It was basically live tracked. Yeah. And I feel like we had a very good idea of what the structure of those songs should be and how they evolve.
We did. I remember that was our first EP that we literally recorded and listened to. I remember we practiced pretty hard. I think the only one that wasn't like one take boom was Apoplectic.
Yeah.
Because of the
it's a little more technical.
The clean guitar parts. It takes me back to like a sick one.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, Micromanager was really fast and easy. Like that was a surprisingly easy album to record. I mean, it was all one guitar. Well, except for Apoplectic. Right?
Apoplectic.
Was Apoplectic on Micromanagers?
Yep.
Okay.
Apoplectic was on Micromanager, and that was the first video we had.
Yeah.
Or legit.
No, right. But yeah, I remember Apoplectic almost felt like a separate studio experience compared to the rest of Micromanager.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so separated from it. Because it was like, I feel like the 3 songs of Micromanager that I know, like
you're thinking Micromanager, Frown, Leash.
That's
it.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Apoplectic.
Right. So those 3 were all in drop B on your original
Jay Tercer,
yeah, the beater
Les
guitar.
Paul.
Yeah, right. And when I listen to those, it feels more like they're their own thing, and Apoplectic is kind of the leading track or like a separate, like it almost feels like a bonus track.
That's kind of cool because that kind of showed people this is where we're going.
Yeah.
I mean that, and now let's transition. But
right.
that was pretty much that studio. Micromanager was pretty much live tracked.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember our engineer even going, if it's off a little bit, nobody's gonna know.
Didn't. I think we maybe had. I don't remember if we had a click or not, or if it was just kind of like just do it.
I think it was just do it.
Yeah.
And look at nobody's fucking messaged me and been like,
it's off.
That's not a click.
Well, the click is usually just for patching's sake, right?
But
like
maybe that's what that guy meant when.
I don't think you want to dive into that in this episode.
So
Trey's
long story short, we got some high praise for Micromanager. Okay, it was like old school simple metal, and we had one guy who's I'm gonna say it, metal elitist.
Yeah,
and he fucking hated it and gave us like a fucking 2 out of 10 rating on his review site and posted it everywhere. And I'm like, you know what, dude?
Trey was not happy about it, needless to say. I mean,
because
he ripped into you pretty bad. I'll be honest. It felt personal.
It wasn't even that. It was because I know who he is, and it's like because I don't suck your dick, No, I'm going to say this.
Whether or not this goes into the episode.
No, it is, because I don't suck your dick. You're going to give me a bad review. But if I was buddy-buddy with him, we would have gotten a good review. And the best part was he gave our engineer a 6 out of 10, and our engineer is a world-renowned engineer.
Yeah, he's
you
like
know what I mean?
professional.
But
yeah.
anyways, let's skip. The next thing that came up was, our singles.
Yep.
And there's a reason we went to singles.
Yeah. Well,
In today's day and age, you're not gonna hold somebody's attention in an album. You're not, and that's what we're starting to realize. That's why you see a lot of singles from us. Go ahead, Drew.
yeah. I think a lot of that was also like the live music kill that was like COVID-19 and whatnot. Where basically live music stopped, and it was like, well, everybody was building their own home studios, and people wanted to hear new music from people, so they were just like, putting out music as quickly as possible, which not necessarily localized to Wisconsin, just kind of what I saw everywhere was people just like putting out singles and everything. And in this digital age of music where, people don't want to buy CDs, usually it's like,
Well, you got TikTok, you got Apple where you can go on and buy one song.
yeah, it's not even that.
Spotify.
It's like, where do you listen to music, right?
Right,
Like
right.
a lot of that's driven by like people, Spotify or Apple Music, where you just slam shuffle and it'll
algorithm.
Shuffle.
Yep.
Yeah, and basically it'll shuffle music. And you'll pick up a song here and there. Now, people like us, not everybody, not the majority, will find a song on an album and we'll listen to the album.
Fucking right.
But
My favorite thing back in the day was pick up an album and know that there's a couple of good songs on there.
Right.
And then get those tracks that you're like, holy shit.
right.
This
But-
song's good, but people don't think like that anymore.
Right.
It's what's going to keep my attention.
But I personally think that's a good thing. And this is why. Because a lot of bands back in the day were releasing albums with, they had a track limit they had to hit. And there were filler songs that were just like 2 minutes of fucking nonsense. Like if you had that album, you would never fucking listen to that song. Like literally fucking ever. A few things that come to mind are like Korn's "Wish You Could Be Me," or like a couple
Or
of those.
Alice in Chains, I am our
Yeah.
God.
Right. Like these little filler songs that were just bullshit songs. Like the reason I like nowadays where songs can be released in that kind of a format is because like, yeah, I can pick a song that I like out of a band and not listen to anything else and like be totally fine. I know I'm not a true fan at that point, but I still like the song.
Yeah.
Like it's the counterpoint to that is like somebody who only likes Creep from Radiohead and nothing
Oh,
else.
for sure. For
Right.
sure.
But yeah. Personally, I like that because
To go
like,
back,
yeah,
one great one that you were talking about, Korn, For You.
I
That
don't
was
remember how
supposed to be
one
a
goes.
filler. This shit right here is for you.
Yeah,
You all think it's about
Yeah.
me. So there's some really great filler songs on albums, but as a local small band, you're only going to gain traction with your best song.
Right.
And that is, dude, I will stand by that because that is the fucking truth. Unless you are a Metallica caliber, Korn caliber, people will hear one song and like it, or if you release an album, they're gonna like one song or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
no,
it doesn't make sense. I really like the creative aspect of releasing a full-on album.
Yeah, no, I do
The
too.
artwork, the concept,
Yep.
the songs, even the song listing. But that failed
like the order
for
that
us.
it's in.
That
Yeah.
failed for
Well,
us.
it didn't fail. I think it's more like it doesn't make sense for us to do that anymore because I feel like we're always moving and trying different things. We're like,
I mean, that's fair, but also the attention span of people anymore is
Yeah.
not, I'm going to grab this local band, Mile 134's 10-song album, and I'm going to listen to it because I bet the fucking
but I
the people who do that are few and far between.
yeah, but I feel like also our production is not driven by that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not driven by we have to do an album. We have to save all these songs to do an album. At this point for us, it's more, well, we have a queue of songs. Let's get this one recorded because we're in the mood for it, and let's get it released.
We are
because it's done.
You're right. We're very much. Let's polish this up.
Yeah, just
get them out.
Yeah, well, it's like because me and you are pretty anxious people. I feel we don't like having songs sitting on our shoulders that aren't recorded, right?
Shitting.
I know. Fuck you. But
I just remember even Left or Reason giving us shit. It's like, well, we want to get the shit out, get it over with, and move on.
Yeah,
we're not.
It's getting it done and moving it on.
Yeah.
So, because what'll happen is like if me and you sit on a song for too long, we'll fucking rewrite that song like 6 times.
Or
like you in the set list before shows.
Oh yeah.
But it's the same thing with songs because like we'll sit on it, and we'll be like, well, what if we did it this way? Oh, okay. A month later, I liked it the old way. I think part of it is like we want to record a song, get it written, get it on paper. Send it on the way.
It's a whole, you know what? Not to say anything about our fan base or anything, but it's like we got that song out of us.
Right.
How it is, get it out of here.
Yeah,
because
right.
on to the next thing.
Ship
I
it
feel
out.
like we're very progressive, and we're not gonna sit here and stare at the past.
No, right.
You know what I mean? And by the time we release songs, it's like we've played them live a couple times. We know how we want them to sound, and it's like, let's get out of them.
No, absolutely. That completely derailed my train of thought. I think a lot of that too. Oh, that's where it is. Is that we're a 2-piece. Like when you have a band of 5 people, you can sit on songs for longer because you have to keep perfecting it.
They can make it fucking just.
Well, no, it's not. It's not about like making it more than it is. It's about like because we're a 2-piece, it doesn't take us long to write a song and know all the parts. And once it's done, we get it out. Versus like a 5-piece, right? You gotta like maybe one person starts writing the song, or like 3 people do. Then you gotta teach like the other 2 members the rest of it.
I agree, but I think it's all in the mentality. You and I have let's write it, see what it can do, and we'll get to this eventually. But I think Red Eye, our newest single, was really great. I think we went into the studio with some concrete ideas, and then we both said, these are up in the air.
Yep.
And
we
then
had spots.
We went into the studio and they turned out great.
We basically had like a design and then Lego pieces on that design that we were like, well, we could put like a 4x4
but again,
here.
That comes from the learning.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So Sinner was. Let's get back to the original
back on
topic
track.
here.
Sinner was very much like
Sinner all in. All in, but we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Yep, young and dumb.
Micromanager was all in, and let's just fucking hit the record
what we're doing
button
at this point. Yeah, smash the record button.
Smash that record button.
Make it sound good, Dustin. Was basically how that one was.
I'll tell you what. Was it The Hour? Mm-hmm. I think that was
a single, wasn't it? We recorded
The Hour and Dead to Me.
Oh, that's right. That was
The
an
Hour
EP.
Chapter 1. But what did we do different? What we did different was we wrote those songs together.
Yeah.
So we knew kind
well,
of.
Micromanager was pretty together. I feel like you came. That was.
I don't.
It was 75-25.
Micromanager. I wrote a Substack on it. Micromanager. I wrote in the shower.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was pissed off. Whatever.
Yeah. But like you came to me with stuff, and I added my flavor to it.
But I remember The Hour was a total. The breakdown was written by us.
Yeah, it was.
The intro was by us.
Yep.
The whole song was by us. The only thing I had was that. Yeah,
and then we just jammed it out basically.
Same thing with Dead to Me. It was just the J-Lo beat, the dun 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 dun.
But no,
which I wrote in another Substack. J-Lo inspired that.
Right. But no, yeah, I feel like we were both like that was when I was kind of growing more involved with the writing process.
Right. Sinner was very much me by myself.
Yeah.
Not because you didn't want to.
No,
because that's how we.
Well, you had basically had these songs written, and I was like, okay, like
But that's also a problem because it's like, this is how they're written. This is how we're gonna play them.
And we came to you for
questions
and then
or
answers.
even in the studio, they're like, "Do you want to?" No, I don't want to fucking change it.
No, right.
That's how I wrote it.
No, right.
But look at what happened on.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. It's just a growing thing.
No, but that's what this podcast is about.
Right.
It's about showing our growth spurts. So Sinner was very much I wrote myself.
Yeah,
brought it
super
to Tristan.
young in the process. Like I didn't know a damn thing about writing. It was basically you saying play these with me. And I was like, okay. And then micromanager, I was a little more involved. I was like, what if we do little things here and there?
But I feel like, and I wrote this on our Substack, but The Hour was the first EP. It was just 2 songs.
Yep.
But that was the first one we kind of collabed on.
Yep. It was all right. We're writing
and that,
today.
to this day, is still my favorite EP.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite shit we've released. I mean, it's tattooed on my arm.
No, yeah. It was a good EP.
The Hour was absolutely dark. Dead to Me was, I mean, that's some good stuff.
I think that studio experience, like, I don't have a lot of memories from it just because
I don't either.
It was fast.
It was fast.
It was a fast studio experience. And I think we came into the studio basically we had a demo before that, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
There's an hour demo out there.
I don't even remember. Yeah, you're right. I don't even remember the studio experience.
It was fast. It was super fast. I think we came in with 2 songs ready to go, and they were like, okay, and we did it, and it was good. I specifically remember that being fast, if I'm thinking properly.
Yeah, but
that was at Blast House, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't anywhere
but
else?
we had it mastered by somebody else.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, so let's skip ahead, and let's go to Growl and Dissociate.
Yep, those weren't at Blast House.
No, they were. But what did we do first?
We recorded it at a different studio.
So what we did with Growl and Dissociate, that was kind of when it clicked with us that singles are the way to go for what we're doing.
Yep.
Again, it's going to differ for everybody, but for us, we are very write the song, get it out. Write the song, get it out. If we ever get to a big block of songs, then maybe we'll have an album again. But otherwise, it's going to be EPs and singles. But for Growl and Dissociate, Growl is a cover for those of you who don't know. Growl is a cover of our uncle's old trailercore / punk band, Rat Belly. And we got permission to cover it because we always covered it at our shows.
Yep.
And then we recorded it, and shit, we did. And then I'm trying to remember back this far. Dissociate was also another one. We actually were writing in a...
We wrote that in that studio, did we not?
No, dude, we wrote that in my damn room in Monroe. That
that's
little
right.
tiny ass room where 3 of us fit in a room that barely fits 1 people.
It was a little den with
1
drum kit in
people,
it.
1 person.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then
but I remember part of that writing process being at the other place.
So what we did was come up with some ideas, and then we also went to our buddy Josh Halverson, who's of the band Parallax. His dad has a nice studio. We went over there and kind of literally, I remember we got the marker board out, and we're like, here's the intro, here's the verse, here's the chorus, here's the verse, blah, blah, blah.
I think we wrote the breakdown there.
Yeah, but, Josh is so musically talented outside of his vocal abilities that he helped he had a vision for the song.
Yeah.
And we kind of went right along with that, and that song was just like, I mean, it was done. But, yeah, and Growl was a cover, so that was done.
Those snaps are crisp.
They're crisp snaps. But we did, so Dissociate and Growl, we did demo beforehand.
Right.
Just to see how it would sound. And honestly,
that makes a huge difference.
Both demos. Yeah, so
they weren't far from the production. Yeah. No,
right.
I think that's where you were going with that. Was that
both? I'll tell you what, I think that's when it clicked with us that demoing the songs before we take them to the studio was the way to go. And I swear by that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you just the best example of what it sounds when it's recorded.
I think, if any amateur band, we're amateur. That's not an insult. We are an amateur band.
No, right.
I'm just saying, if any band thinks they're going to go in the studio, you need to record your shit, listen to it for 2 weeks, then decide what you want to do. Because that is fucking eye-opening.
I think
it is so eye-opening, and it is... I think that's a guideline, don't you?
No,
I think
absolutely.
That's a goddamn guideline.
I agree. Like, you have to listen to your song. First of all, record it in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter. Like you can whip up
Doesn't the quality doesn't matter.
No, like just make sure you can hear everything.
It's got to be audible.
Yeah, right. And listen to it, but also when you're listening to it, make sure you're not just listening to it and then like the same kind of music you normally listen to.
Yeah.
You want to listen to different music while you're listening to it. And the reason for that is because then you don't lock yourself into a sound and you don't lock yourself to a format.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a song that you wrote while you're listening to like one band, it'll sound similar to that in structure.
Yeah.
You have to take a second to listen
You're
to some
going to
other
be
stuff.
like, that sounds great.
Right. I think what I would do is I would throw it into a shuffle of all the music that I had. And then
You know,
like,
that's
it would show
what
up.
Uncle Craig did to me. He
Yeah.
goes, here is, I threw Micromanager in this thrash
Yeah,
mix.
listen how it sits.
He
in
goes,
there.
it is not Metallica, it's not Pantera, it's every other,
Yeah.
band that
All
got
these thrash-
foreshadowed.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and no, I agree. Like that's an important step too. Before you're willing to throw down money for the studio, record your song in any way, shape, or form that you have available. Like I think for my solo project, I recorded on $20 microphones. It does not matter about the quality of the equipment. It really doesn't. Get it recorded and listen to it, and then once you listen to it, decide if you want to make any structure changes or if there's anything else you want to change from there. Record it again, then go to the studio.
100%
Yeah.
agree. I think that was something we missed on Sinner and Micromanager. Micromanager, I think, was better than Sinner, but I'm biased. I wanted to go that, heavier route.
Right.
We both did.
Yeah.
So Micromanager was like, oh, yeah, it's way better than
It's more
Sinner.
thuddy. Yeah. No.
But
for
I'll
sure.
tell you what, after the hour into those singles, when we started recording ourselves, it was like, it clicked. It's like, this is what we need to do.
Right.
I mean, granted, Growl was a cover, and all we did was drop tune and add some gutturals.
Right.
And that was our cover.
Yeah. But we still like added our own flavor to it.
Yes.
And I mean, like,
we've got a certain sound that
Yeah.
people like and don't like, but
no, for sure.
so anyways, moving forward from that, we ended up coming with Decline and Deadweight, and these were the first ones that we recorded in Mile 134 HQ. That
Yep.
was 2020, because I really think they could have been. I mean, we had really high hopes for the studio. I still do.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
Those were kind of our test run songs.
yeah, it was a learning. It was another step in that learning process of recording. Well, can we do this ourselves? Can we take what we know and make a studio out of it? And that was also part of my solo project and learning how to use the studio.
Oh, that's right. You did some of your solo stuff down
Yeah,
here too.
well, I recorded it all here. And the point of that being, like, how can I take the knowledge that I already have and take it to the next level? Can we do it here, without having to spend nothing against the studio prices and whatnot, but just to be able to
No,
do
but
it.
it's nice to be under your. So,
Basically, releasable demos is what we
Yeah.
were looking for. Is something that we could.
disclaimer:
Yeah.
we are not a professional band, so
No.
we're just looking to release some quality music. But
Yeah.
we've got a decent studio setup. We've got acoustic panels, recording equipment, whatever. But it's
Right.
like, how can we maximize this value of this, this material we have here?
Right.
And that's what we've been working on. And that's the result of Deadweight and Decline. It has nothing to do against our studio, but it's honestly more of an urge to learn.
Yeah. It's
And
a
to
learning
be able
thing.
to say, I did that shit. You know what I mean?
Right. Because, I mean, even having done that, having done our own recordings here, we learned stuff to then take to the studio for recording from
Yeah,
there. I mean,
absolutely.
we demoed the new single here. Basically had it in a listening format, right? It
was good.
It was
It was
basically
good.
done, but it was missing this polish that we could have had from the studio, and you'll hear that when you hear the song.
Oh, it's beastly.
At some point, we should release like the other version as a demo. Just
I
to,
thought about that.
just to give it like a little, maybe at some point, but like.
I thought about putting it on the CD, but the CDs are already
No,
in transit.
Yeah, I think that's for later. But no, I think that that added a huge layer of, well, what can we change and what do we like? Because then, like, once it's different to record something for a demo, right? The mixing doesn't matter. Mixing doesn't matter for anything. But we recorded this new single in, like, we wanted to produce it like Decline and whatnot, where it's like a listenable, like, mastered format. And I did most of that. And I'm not a studio engineer. I have no education in this. It's mostly by fly by wire. What are we doing? I made that work, and it was the same with this new song. And we knew, and we had an idea of what our mix wanted to sound like. Going into the studio.
Yeah.
The roadmap was set, and
Yep.
even with the roadmap set, we still changed things. And I think that is a credit to recording stuff first and listening to it.
Damn right it is.
I think that's.
But I'll tell you what, when we did Decline, Decline was a one-take acoustic song, so there's not much to base on with that.
Decline wasn't the acoustic song.
Or sorry, Dead Weight.
Yeah.
Jesus. They both start with D.
D, I know.
But Dead Weight was an acoustic song.
Yep.
And it was one take. That was the what's the word I'm looking for? That was the novelty behind Dead Weight. It was,
it was
let's
all right.
do one song.
Yeah,
it's going to be raw.
It'll be what it is.
And that's how we promoted it.
Yeah, it was all right. Here's the song we wrote. We're not going to go in, but here it is.
But Decline was fucking cool because we did a first step record. You and I messaged back and forth.
It was like a studio experience.
Yeah, we're like, this is what needs to change. This is what we got to do. We did a video.
Mm-hmm.
And then even after we released it, Tristan and I were still like, it could have used this and this. And that is cool because as you're getting this feedback, you can take that wherever you want and figure out, how do I want what are aspects I want my next release to have.
Yeah.
And I feel like Decline was perfect for that. Decline's a nasty song as is. It's stupid simple. So it's like we didn't lose or win on anything with that. It was, here it is.
Yeah, no. It was basically handing somebody a song. It's like there's
that was all
polish.
DIY. That was the video was all
absolutely.
DIY. The song was all DIY.
Yep.
But anyways, so we took that and
that experience, and then
not long after we had our new single coming out, Red Eye. I remember we recorded it multiple times.
Yep.
Multiple times we recorded it, and we were dead set on releasing it from Mile 134 HQ, and produced by Tristan, mastered, mixed by Tristan, and it honestly sounded really fucking good, but all it needed, so we took all that experience we had, put it into Red Eye, the single coming up, but it was missing something. We took it to the studio, we found that something,
got that something.
And guess what? Now we know what to do with it.
No, right.
And that's not, we're not robbing from the studio, we're just learning.
No.
That's the whole thing with our music. We're not going to get famous. The style of music we play, we're not going to get famous. So we want to learn so we can have fun with it and try to replicate.
Yeah. I definitely think that music production in general, whether it's writing as the musicians or producing it as the mixer or sound engineer, is a whole learning process. Oh man, I had a great thought and it's totally leaving me right now. But yeah. No, going into the studio, we found that something that makes this huge. And the engineers have the education for it. You have to
they're so good.
You have to keep in mind, like,
they can do,
when it
takes us hours and days to do, they can do it in,
he'll edit
half
stuff
hour
on the fly. He'll just move this here, and it's totally fine.
Let's go ahead if you're.
Yeah, basically just that. I feel like that's an experience that everybody should have. Like, if you're a dedicated musician, and this is going to sound a little pretentious, but if you're somebody who appreciates music not only for the writing but also the production and listening process of it, you should absolutely involve yourself with the the DAW, like Ableton or Pro Tools or any of the other ones out there, Reaper and what have you. But you should involve yourself with that process, learn what it looks like, and then go from there, because then it totally changes the way you understand music in general.
Well, see, that's why I got Tristan, because I don't understand any of it.
I think you do. You just don't apply to it.
I like Studio One for recording riffs quick, but regardless, guys, so the basis what we're saying is, from what we've learned in all of our studio experience, even this single, what we did, this upcoming single, we demoed it 3 times. Mm-hmm. I typed up a Word document of notes that we should adjust. I sent it to Tristan. Tristan adjusted the song. And we just kept doing that back and forth, back and forth. Once we were comfortable, we booked studio time.
Yep.
But even during that month from when we booked the time to when we had,
That song was still being written.
we were still exploring options with
Yep.
it. But
No.
that's the beauty of a single. You're not focused on 10 songs worrying
Yep.
about how they're going to sound. It was, how can we make this single sound as good as it can sound? And guess what? I remember we did some ideas. Tristan and I figured out some ideas that were just rock solid. But we went into the studio, and I told Tristan, I go, we are going to figure out in this.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this section out in the studio. And guess what we did?
Absolutely.
Because it's nice to have that studio engineer
When you're in
there.
that environment.
Yeah. And we came up with some killer ideas, and they made it onto the single. So you'll hear it.
Yeah.
721.
No, for sure.
So I guess the basis of this podcast is, guys, rule number 1, record your songs
Listen to
and
yourself.
listen to them. And then rule number 2,
Have mom listen to them.
yeah, evaluate. Send them to everybody and have, guys, constructive criticism.
You have to expect honesty.
Oh.
If it sounds like shit, expect them to say it sounds like shit.
And you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. At first, we were very resilient to
yeah,
criticism.
we're doing it right. No.
Yeah, we're doing it right. And you know what? Our number one criticizer is our uncle. And he's been in bands, and he's the opposite of us. He likes fast, straight time
He's
punk.
he's a punk drummer. He isn't. He loves.
And, at first I'm like, no, you're not right. But then he says shit, and I'm like, you know what?
yeah, sometimes it makes
He's
sense.
fucking right. So I would say rule number 1 is record your shit. Rule number 2, listen to your shit. Rule number 3, I would say be open to adjusting your songs. Because
Yeah.
that's what we did even on this last record.
Don't be rigid in your idea of what
Yeah.
a song should sound like. Be malleable, and then
Even going back to Sinner, remember? I didn't want to give up that
No.
chorus riff.
no, right. It was really rigid, but that was an art in itself. If you're gonna be rigid, you better know your shit. You better know
Yeah.
exactly how it's gonna feel. But otherwise, be malleable.
But it is so cool because even on Red Eye, our engineer was like, try this. And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And then shit.
It
we're
sounded
like,
good.
okay,
It
let's
opens
do
your
it.
ideas.
And then there are times, even on this single, where the engineer's like, do this. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then he messages me the next day and goes, good call.
Good call.
So it's that collaboration
Yeah.
that makes the studio great. But I think every band needs to, rule number 1, record themselves. Rule number 2, listen to themselves. Rule number 3, be open. But also rule number 4, you got to go in the studio, but you have to set boundaries and you have to know what you want to sound like. Because there were times where we went in the studio and it was like, no.
No,
That is
yeah.
not the vision we had. And the engineer
your
was like,
vision.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the engineer's like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah. Like you're gonna get different opinions from an engineer or anybody else. And
Opinions are like assholes.
wow, everybody's got one.
Everybody's got-
but
right.
like the idea is that like you have to understand your vision, be malleable with it, but like also incorporate different ideas.
Yeah.
I would say number 5 I'm gonna
Yep.
add a rules to this is don't expect perfection.
No.
Every
Fuck no.
album you listen to on the radio and whatnot is gonna sound perfect, but I guarantee you there's fucked up
It's
shit
not.
in there. Like I can tell you in every song I've ever recorded or been a part of, I will hear the little imperfections, right? You'll hear a snare buzz too long, you hear a guitar string that's out of tone, but
That adds,
if you didn't write it, you didn't hear it.
right,
You know what
that
I mean?
adds the feel. Because look at our center album.
It's not even
where-
that. It's
No,
not.
but
It's not
even-
even that. Like if you've written the music, you'll hear the mistakes. But like if you listen to it and you've only listened to it, you haven't written it, you didn't play the guitar on it.
You
it'll
don't
sound-
know.
It'll
Right.
you know, and it's
Right.
perfect, right? It's perfect.
Right.
I'm floating quotes. You can't see my fingers, but I'm quoting it. It's perfect, right? Sorry.
Right.
Continue your thought.
No, but I was, I'm on a different level here, but meaning I'm
Go ahead.
thinking of being the writer,
You're right.
you know what's missed.
Yeah,
in that,
but that
in that
adds-
quote unquote perfection, like Sinner, where we
Right.
had to take out and program the spot because I
Yep.
couldn't fucking play it to a metronome. But you're absolutely right. when you play something and you release it to people, they don't fucking know
The
if
mistakes
it was
make the song
Yeah.
too. Like I
You
think
know
that's
what?
that's what you were going for is the
Yeah,
mistakes and the
absolutely.
little things make the song.
Absolutely, because even on this single, the chorus is the same until the end. Remember, we get the little.
Yeah, it's just a little
It's
bit
like
different.
a shotgun.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
But, anyways, so I think those are the solid 5 rules that we can give.
Loose rules as somebody who's been through it.
Well, and guess
right?
what? We're not the biggest band around. We're not the most pop
No,
at
and
all.
we're still going.
But guess
we're
what?
learning shit. It's gonna
Right.
change in a week, you know.
But
like,
guess
have
what?
you.
We've been in the studio 5 times and probably spent 5 digits worth of money.
Right.
6 digits, not 6.
Not 6.
5 digits worth of money. And it's not about the money. You pay for what you get. That's with anything.
No, right.
But there was some
we
money.
spent time in this studio
Yeah.
too, free time.
But there was
basically.
some money in the studio that did not need to be spent because we were ignorant.
You're paying for an education.
We
You're
were
paying-
ignorant.
You're
Yep.
paying to learn a little bit
Yep.
sometimes in the studio.
So what I would tell every band out there, and I'll go back to my number 1 rule. No, you
listening.
need to record it first.
Yep.
Record it first. Number 2, listen to it. Number 3, get some feedback. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but you do need some feedback.
Yeah.
Because
If
I
you,
mean that goes even to Tristan and I write songs together. We're like, this is fucking great.
right.
And then we go in the studio and he's like, well,
This lame as shit.
that part's not great. What if you do this? And we're like, no. And then we take a break and it's like, you know what? Let's try it.
Yep.
And then he incorporates it into the mix and it's like, that's really fucking good. So you need to be open-minded. Number 4, you need to be open-minded, but somewhat rigid. You need to have a
Open-minded,
roadmap.
but know your vision.
Yeah.
Yep.
And number 5, I mean, don't
Don't expect it to be perfect.
expect to be perfect, but also, guys, I don't think music is based on perfection anymore. It's really not.
No.
Like look at bands like Nirvana. I mean, anymore. And then I transition back to the 90s, but
Right.
Nirvana's Bleach recorded for $600 and it is an absolute platinum album to this day. You do not need perfection anymore.
No.
I mean, you
A lot of people, I feel like, expect.
conviction.
Yeah, it's conviction is a lot of. That's a very strong word.
You gotta
for-
have conviction.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes into like the whole vision thing too. Is you can be convicted of what you're doing and like do it. But you can also be open minded to, oh, does this fit the bill? Does this kind of change the way I say things, but also say the same thing? You got it.
I feel like you and I have this good grasp of conviction.
We run into it every now and then.
Right.
We run into it, but
And you know what? I'm gonna add another rule.
I feel like you should run into your own convictions every now and then too. Though.
And I'm
I think
gonna
it's
add
important.
another rule. I think you
Rule
need
6.
Rule 6, and that's where we're gonna stop. But
All
I
right.
think you gotta write what pleases you.
Yeah.
Because in today's day and age,
There's music
can-
for everything.
you can't please anybody.
No.
And half the shit that pleases people is fucking.
You're not writing music for a math test. It's not a right
tasteless.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tasteless fucking God. And I this pains me to say it because I'm a fan of any type of music, but it's tasteless, generic shit. So you
Yeah.
just gotta write what you love and make it the best you can make it. I feel like you and I, we do a good job at not necessarily appealing to everybody, but at getting our message out there.
Right.
And
With
that,
a balance.
Rule
of what the
number
music-
7.
Yeah,
No.
right. We
But
could just go on for ages.
but that's what Mile 134 is.
No,
It is-
yeah.
We connect with everything we do. The lyrics and the music is everything we are.
Right.
And then when we play it live, people come up to us and they're like, "Man, you guys are really into that. You're sweating." It's like, well, you know what? We do not write music that we will not connect with.
Oh, right. Like, yeah.
I think that's huge. I think that's huge because I see so many
that's with
generic,
conviction too.
generic fucking bands that
Yeah.
or music,
No,
that
right.
they just write for popularity and whatever else. But
no, right.
anyways, we're gonna cut it. So there's there's your 6 rules. Not necessarily rules, I guess more like guidelines. That we've been in the studio many a time.
Lessons learned in the studio, we'll call it.
We're just trying to transpose them to you guys.
Yep.
So this has been the Backline podcast. Tristan's back from his vacation. We've got a single coming out 7/21 called Red Eye.
Yep.
Fun fact about the single, the title is Red Eye because I came home one night and we were supposed to demo it back in 2021, and I thought that's what Tristan was screaming, but it wasn't. But that's the song name. So
it's gibberish, basically.
Yeah. So this is Trey.
This is Tristan.
This has been the Backline podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Backline podcast.
I got a piss.